Hey guys, Dan here, Merlin here, and we've got Freaks and Geeks Friday. We're going to talk about this latest episode that we've seen, Looks and Books.
Mm-hmm.
They're back to the rhyming titles with, one part might lead to the freak part and one part might lead to the geek part. And I think that's probably true.
I think one is definitely more about the freaks and the other is more about the geeks.
But looks could also have different meanings because you could say looks physically, but also
how
more
people
like optics.
Perceive you.
How people perceive you. So really, it could go either way. But let's talk about the episode. I actually think this one... No, I'm going to say it. I think this one might be a shorter review.
I think
this might be about at the 45-minute mark instead of the hour mark.
Okay, 40. I would still say it's probably going to be a good 45.
I'm not going to say it's going to be... We're never going to have a 25-minute Freaks and Geeks review, but
all right, well,
I think 45.
Watching this episode, I did feel that, as I've said this a couple times, it's pretty straightforward in terms of what it's doing generally. So it's not... But there still could be a lot to
There still could be some things to talk about. Let's... do you want to dive into the looks or the books?
Let's dive into the looks.
Okay.
Actually, because I think the books is the...
Books is how the episode starts.
Books is how the episode starts, but I feel like that's the meat of this episode.
So we're going to actually start with the
B-plot.
The B-plot, all right.
Yeah, for once.
I would agree. I think the geek part is definitely B-plot here.
I'd say the
B-story.
And I think, well, basically, Sam is trying to impress Cindy. That's
once again
the main goal. Is like, okay, how am I going to impress her? And
by the way, what happened with the where he was the mascot? They just fired him, I guess, because it wasn't really him.
No show is perfect continuity.
All right, I just wondered because I don't think it comes up again. Maybe it does.
Well, I don't know.
I don't remember. I don't think it does. All right,
but I know it's because you enjoyed that episode so much.
I did like that episode.
So did I. It was a very good one.
It was a good episode.
So yeah, I guess maybe he's still on the team or not, but
clearly Cindy's still part of the show. So I don't know.
Yeah, and in fact, it is still following up from that where she's with the jock. It wasn't so bad, but Sam's still like, oh, what's so great about him? And then of course takes an off comment about his hair, like, oh, they've got the great puffy hair.
Yes.
Oh, and then of course the whole basic.
Maybe actually that's the first scene.
In the hallway.
I guess maybe the part with the car is the second scene.
No.
They're both before the credits, though. I think.
You were right the first time because it opens up with Lindsay in the hallway, and they talk about the others having a party. They're going to perform there. And
okay.
Can we take the car? So you're actually you're right. But.
So maybe him in the hallway with the hair was the first scene of him post music, post credits,
post pre-credit sequence.
All right.
Opening.
Well, either way,
it's the beginning of his story.
Correct.
And basically, it's that comment. I think it's Neil that says it. Of course, Neil knows all about how to present yourself.
Well, the guy's very well put together. Himself.
Yes.
Well put together.
Yes. Very
confident,
snappy dresser. So Sam's like, he takes that to heart, and the whole plot of his storyline. This is just. What can I do to look better? So it's the cusp of the 80s, so we're going to play with some of the puffy hair, the spray. We're going to look for some clothing. And
this was an interesting time for fashion because, of course, disco was still around. Yeah, still very big, still. But it was, when it peaked, it peaked and then just died.
Yeah,
so this is getting to the peak.
Of the end.
I mean,
of disco
81 was pretty much the end of disco. This is 1980, so
which is why
it's getting close.
I don't think it's going to be a very short episode because even the B plot, I had a question I wanted to ask you that I thought was very interesting.
But I will also say, as we're on the subject, these guys are Midwest, which means they're a little behind the times,
behind the East and West Coast fashion trends from Europe. So things would come a little later.
Yeah,
that makes sense. So he starts off with the hair. And, Cindy kind of approaches him at lunch, and he's like, hey, our buddy Gordon's back, too.
I know. I love that Gordon had, several lines in this episode. He was in a couple of scenes. And your friend, well, we'll talk about him, actually, with the Freaks.
The fifth guy.
But, yeah.
The other sort of geek guy.
Yeah, but I love that Gordon's back. Had a nice pencil bit later on.
I love the fact he doesn't care. She asked for a pencil, and Sam's too, kind of enthralled, even,
he's
notice
Sam's
my hair.
Flustered.
Notice my hair, and Gordon gets the pencils, like, give it back. He doesn't care that she's pretty. Like, he's not even worried at all.
No, because, see, and here's the thing.
It's
when, I think most of my friends kind of knew where they stood socially.
Uh-huh.
Certainly with girls.
Sure.
And I think Gordon... Gordon gets it, man. He's a smelly kid.
He's not stressed.
He's fat. He just is not... He doesn't care.
Which plays into, like, his old storyline from the previous episode where he was in. And also one of the big themes of this episode with...
Fitting in.
And with Sam's storyline, which we'll get to. So it works with that, yeah.
Yeah.
And so he has that bit, and it doesn't work. So they go to... kind of like another disco, trendy fashion store.
Well, first he asks the dad... No, first he asks...
For money.
Yes, the dad for money.
So he can get his own clothes. And the mom's like, oh, we want to go. I'll go shopping.
Yeah, I'll go
get crepes. We'll get crepes so we can do... No, Mom.
And he said, you always dress me in garanimals.
See, I don't get that. Right?
Which, it's like Oshkosh Bagosh. Like, it's a kid's... It's
a little kitty.
It's a 4-year-old's type of... Garanimals is like shirts with little like cartoon lions on them and stuff.
Oh, and the dad says an interesting line where he's like, "Okay, it's good, son. It's time to for a man to dress himself and cut the apron strings off." And the mom kind of
how was that death glare that she gave him?
Like, okay, let's tone it down a little. Like like it's a little borderline sexist.
A recurring theme though in this whole series,
the clash of
is the mom not wanting these kids to grow up. And fly from the nest. True. And here he's encouraging it.
Hey. But to be fair...
Yeah, you don't need your mother to go shopping with you.
Transition. It's all about the transition.
Yes, transition.
But I did think that was a great...
That was the death glare.
That was like...
She was like, how dare you.
That was, how dare you take my baby
boy
away.
Yeah.
My cute little Sam.
All right, so we have some things to say about the store.
I'm guessing you know the guy.
I actually didn't on site.
Okay.
But when they said the name in the commentary, I knew immediately. I didn't watch a lot of MST 3K.
Oh, I should know this then.
But
damn it.
He is Joel Hodson something. It's the main guy, like the creator of MST 3K.
Oh.
He does all the voices.
Oh, he does the
maybe not all the voices, but...
see, that's really bad. See, because I like Mystery Science Theater, so I probably should know this, but like I didn't watch it.
Well, I feel like I didn't watch it religiously either. But yes, once they kind of said who he was, I was like, oh my god, because in the '90s when it started, like he was. He would have been. I remembered him like in the workshop or whatever before they went to watch the movie, talking with the robots and stuff. So anyway, he's friends with
one of the hosts,
Paul Feig. Only because Paul Feig was such a big fan of Mystery Science Theater.
Awesome.
So they became friends from that, started working together, and so they were like, look, do you want to be a part of this episode? And Joel said yes, as long as I can wear a horrible hairpiece.
That's
and
what
so
maybe why I didn't recognize
They said yes. But not only that, this store existed in Paul Feig's life.
Okay.
The name of the store is the same.
Okay.
And the type of store it is, like that's where Paul Feig went to buy his like disco clothes, all of this kind of thing. And the plot that we're going to talk about in a second with this baby blue jumpsuit is basically an exact replica of the piece that Paul Feig bought and wore to school thinking he was going to be badass and getting bullied.
I think that's one of the secrets of a show like this that speaks to the realism. It comes from these realistic experiences from the creators. So this actually happened.
And so they, the prop people or whatever, the costume people, God bless them, they gave him some options and everything looked too cartoony or too like, no, that doesn't fit. And once he really was like, it needs to be this color, it needs to have this many pockets, whatever. But another part that we're going to talk about with Paul Feig is, I guess continue on the story.
Okay.
Because we haven't gotten to this part of the story yet.
Okay, well, yeah, basically, I guess the host of Mystery Science Theater, that guy,
yes.
Sorry, I don't remember his name, with the horrible hairpiece.
Horrible hairpiece.
Maybe I didn't recognize him.
So great.
He's saying, this Parisian whatever, the blue jumpsuit looks like something out of Saturday Night Fever or something Elvis wore. This is, if you wear this, all the girls will, see you as a man of great, satisfaction. And Bill's there with them, and he's like trying to encourage. Which, by the way,
Bill stuffs an entire pretzel in his mouth.
I agree. You're gonna.
They won't let him in the store with pretzel because he's gonna get mustard on the clothes.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
He literally stuffs the entire rest of the pretzel in his mouth with one bite.
Good little gag.
Yeah.
And Sam buys it.
Yeah.
Goes with it, and
I wanted there to be a scene.
Well, you got your scene where he was dancing in the mirror. Hey, baby.
I loved that.
I knew
part.
you did.
But I wanted to see a scene where, and maybe this is too sitcom-y, so they wouldn't do it, but where he goes in the back room or something after selling Sam the suit and being like, "Oh, thank God we got rid of that," because he seemed to be pushing it rather hard.
No, I kind of like the way they did it.
I like the way they did it too. I just think too commonly, I guess.
No. It's just I could totally see them doing that, but I think that might have sabotaged what we'd see later on. Because at least from my perspective, you see, I don't know this era of clothing or anything very well, so I was thinking, well, disco is pretty big. Maybe it's a new flashy thing because that's the question I want to ask you later. Is kind of about fashion.
Okay.
So. Obviously, he's selling this to this kid, but it could be a thing, Once again, it comes down to confidence, which we kind of lead into later.
Yeah.
So, I'll be honest, going into it, I'm like, I wonder how this is going to play out, because I did not know. Dumb things become popular and cool all the time, especially in fashion, so I did not know.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, was this something that maybe was trend-setting in Paris? Like he said, maybe. But that's the thing. Like when you think about any runway shows or whatever, not that you and I are fashionistas.
I'm not a fashionista. No.
But
I'm not the guy to ask.
If you see something like even on a commercial or for Victoria's Secret or something where it's like you see the supermodel walk down the runway, I always think, God, that looks awful. Even like dresses at the Oscars, that some people are like, oh, that's so fashion forward. I'm like, that looks like garbage to me. So I think, look, Milwaukee or wherever they are, Michigan, is not a fashion-forward place. So this to me screams like, man, you are going to be so out of place in this thing.
Probably.
Whether it's trending in Paris or not, it ain't trending here.
I guess what I'm saying is maybe the guy was correct. Maybe it's good. It's open ended.
Yeah.
Maybe the guy seemed like he was selling. Well, he really was trying to think about in his perspective with people he rolled with. Maybe, but he's a good salesman.
But he even makes the comment, to him that, look, I'm not an attractive guy, but I've got confidence, I've got style.
So if you rock this well, maybe you can pull it off.
Right.
And so he tries and crumbles. Actually,
how does it go?
When he first walks in, it actually seems like it's going okay because he is so
so confident.
I got the suit on,
right?
Got the big frills, yeah. Hey,
he's moving and shaking.
And people look at him like they're horrified. Like, what is this? And then. Basically, quickly realizes everybody's making fun of him, and people actually start making comments. People start bullying him, picking him up. That one guy comes back with the hair.
Yeah.
From the bully from the first episode. Yeah. They start calling him a homo.
Yeah.
And start pretending.
Okay, so this is the scene I want to talk about. So,
actually, the English teacher part was one of my
English teacher part was very interesting. That
was a good part.
Sort of was admonishing them for calling him a homo, but then saying well,
if you were,
then we're all homos, or
and
whatever.
That's fine. And if you wear this thing to express your individuality, that's cool.
Which just made it worse. Unfortunately,
it did, but
she didn't mean it.
But that's classic. I gotta get this thing off. Yeah.
So the reason that their last name is Weir is so that he can be bullied. By changing it to queer.
I was thinking queer.
Because apparently Paul Feig was called Paul Fag. So at the time, and of course, fag is a hard word to say on television, certainly in an 8 o'clock family show.
Yeah.
They got away with it a few times on Will and Grace and shows like that, but obviously they're not going to do that. So he sort of twisted it a little bit so it was still something that you could rhyme with a slur. And also the homo part, they had to run by standards and practices and say, look, can we have bullies call this kid a homo on the show? And they basically said, well, you can, but somebody needs to basically step in and
which leads
turn it around. And they were like, well, great. That gives us an even better idea how to end the scene.
Which I thought it was
worked out great.
One of the great dramatic scenes. Period.
Yeah.
Actually, it got pretty intense because these three guys were about ready to start a fight. To be fair, Sam, I guess, makes the first move and pushes him, but he's about had it.
Well, he makes the first physical move, I guess.
But it was probably going that way.
They were
crowding.
They were
on
really
him.
being jerks.
So they were probably moving on him. But basically, guidance counselor, who's around the corner,
Mr. Rosso.
Like, hey.
Well, first they tried to escape using Gordon as a shield.
Oh, as a bodyguard.
Remember?
I feel like I'm in the Secret Service.
That was great.
That was good because he's like, I want to. Because
he knew he needed to get home.
He tries to sneak out. And his friends are all kind of surrounding him, and Bill's like, I think we're drawing more attention.
I guess this is before the English class, because I think when he gets caught trying to leave, they make him go to the class.
And I think, was it before that, he actually just tries to sneak out, and the secretary's like, hey, get back in there. I like your style, buddy. You know,
yeah.
Like even she knows, the old lady knows it's horrible. That was pretty funny. So yeah, that's happening. That was a great one for Gordo. And they have tests, so they bail on him for the test.
Yeah.
But he gets cornered. Guidance counselor's like, hey, leave him alone. And it was very interesting. Like, how can I help you? And
Sam's look, he can see what's going on. He knows. Obviously, he's not stupid.
Oh yeah, you're having a real meeting of the mind. Yeah,
that's a good line.
That was a good line. And Sam says, hey, I need a ride home, and guidance counselor takes him home.
Yeah. Now, what do you think of that scene, where they're at the house?
Well, I think it's a fantastic scene, but could that have led to some potentially uncomfortable territory in general? I don't think a guy, growing up, I don't think the guidance counselor could just take a kid home.
Oh, in the 80s, absolutely.
That could have happened?
Oh, my God, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I figured, but I was just looking at it now, I'm like, I don't know if he could do that now.
I would think...
I think...
Even when I went to school, and this would have been a good 10 years after this show takes place... I think I would have been a freshman, 91. So,
although you know what,
I would think that if
guidance counselors are sort of social worker type people, they might be able to help out students with stuff outside.
Yeah,
that is true.
Yeah, I totally did not think.
I didn't think it was a problem.
No,
I just thought legally, I don't know.
Well, I'll be honest. I did think it was a little bit.
I thought it potentially could have been
out of the box that he actually went into the house with him.
He was in the house while Sam was laying on the couch.
That I didn't expect to see, but I think it holds realism.
It also results in a great scene.
But the conversation they have is great. Let's talk about that.
But basically, guidance counselors Mr. Ross was what's going on? How can I help you? What are you wearing that clothing for? I'm doing it to impress a girl. And he's like, hey, it's all about confidence. If you believe you're great, you'll become great. And it
tells the story.
It tells the story about how he got accosted by people down south, a bunch of rednecks, and they called him a hippie, and he asked him what happened. He's like, doesn't matter what happened. Because he probably got his
ass kicked.
He's like, but hey, I never lost respect for myself, being comfortable with yourself.
Yeah.
Which is sort of the theme. It actually connects with the Freaks. I was going to say that intersect.
Well,
they
do intersect there. But also, we mostly have seen Mr. Rosso deal with Lindsay. And, her sort of academically slipping and this, that, and the other thing, and the cheating thing. And but we've not seen him too much, really, dealing with the geeks.
He did say that he felt the Weirs were both looking good today.
He did say that the Weirs were both looking good when they got to school.
Question I had to ask you about that. I liked that part.
Were they looking good?
Yes, I actually thought so.
Okay.
I did.
I thought so too.
I thought they both looked good.
Okay. I liked his feathered hair.
I liked his feathered hair, and I liked her little whatever that was.
Yeah.
Number. It was cute.
Her ensemble.
Sure. But him saying that, would that be inappropriate? Would a teacher get in trouble for saying that?
No. I don't even think a teacher would get in trouble for saying it today.
I don't know.
I don't think so.
I was like, it seemed fine.
Because it was clear
looking good.
It was clear he wasn't making fun of them.
There's no fun. There's no sexual stuff there. It's just looking professional, looking good.
Yeah. Looking good. Sharp.
Looking sharp.
No, I think that's fine.
Dressed for success or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
I think that's fine.
I think that's fine. But
the conversation, yes.
Conversation is really good, and
and it ends with this sort of bizarrely funny moment with the caricature on the wall.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, "Oh, you don't think you're a cool kid. Well, look at that guy." Which to me, I was like, "Oh, that caricature looks terrible, horrible."
But Sam likes it. He kind of digs that.
Sam actually thought that was, a good way of looking at it.
And he kind of thinks about that's interesting, and I love the conversation the geeks have about it because they're all musing it
right.
Okay, well, okay, so if you really do that, will it change things? And I love how Bill's like, oh well, Mr. Rosso's cool, so I get that. I like that he respects it. He sees him as cool, and
because the freaks do not.
They do not.
Maybe he got a couple cool points when he played in the band,
but for the most part,
then he busted
he's a square.
He's
not,
right.
He's an authority figure.
Right.
But the geeks, of course,
he's cool to Bill.
Look a little more up to them. He's cool to Bill.
But what about Sam's whole thing?
Well, that's the thing in building up to it.
Yeah.
So Neil, I thought an interesting comment too.
Neil. I'm sorry.
Well, Neil, I loved how he's like, well, wait.
I always call him Sam because his real name is Sam.
He's little too.
Yeah, right.
But I like his.
Neil's because Neil's very confident.
He's like, I'm confident, and I don't get all the girls and everything. So. And I just thought that was interesting, and then Sam's kind of like...
That realization,
kind of sort of being okay with yourself. I thought it was interesting they all looked at it a different way.
Yeah.
And it's more about, we'll talk about with the freaks, sort of learning to sort of be okay with yourself, even though it might not necessarily get you everything you want, that's still not the point.
Yeah.
And I think Sam would still be thinking, initially, if I do this... I'll be cool, or maybe not everybody will think you're cool, but you'll still be cool.
Well, and look, Gordon, we've talked about it now several times. Gordon's a great example of this, leading back a couple episodes ago.
Gordon's cool.
Gordon, to me, I don't think he's cool, but I think he doesn't care that he's not cool.
And that's the thing.
And I don't think Bill cares that he's not cool.
And that's the thing.
It kills Sam.
In the high school definition, he's not cool. But but they have confidence in who they are. They're cool people. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Cool,
if you're cool with yourself,
then you're cool.
Because who cares?
Who cares? It's like the guy's got. Who cares what everybody else thinks? Let them laugh.
And listen,
which is hard for a kid.
I was just going to say that is a rare thing to realize
when you're
in
a
teenager.
High school. Oh yeah, it's all about fitting in with everybody.
But thinking about it, and this episode makes me do just that all the time. But my friends. We definitely weren't cool. We've talked about that. But there were a good segment of them just didn't care if they were cool or not. My friend Joe that does the YouTube stuff. Megapodtastic. He has been like that his entire life. It just so happens that 30 years later, now it is cool to be a geek. But... He was like that 25 years ago.
And this is
and he didn't care what was in or what was hip.
And that's the interesting thing about, status quos and when you're a teenager, what's cool in the crowd. If I was a nerd and I met Joe back then, I would have thought he was cool from my perspective.
Yes.
And that's all I would have cared about. So, you know what I mean? It's all, and now that stuff is big, so it's subjective,
And we've seen, it's all very cyclical, too. I mean, it comes around, my dad would have been freaking hoisted upon the sports team's shoulders in high school if it was like today. But but we saw this recently with Cindy too, where Cindy has this pressure put upon her because she is a beautiful cheerleader, this and that. She's got all these expectations that the geeks don't have.
And that's kind of a benefit.
Bill,
you don't have to put on a pedestal of
Bill
standards.
Just is himself.
It's
because he doesn't care what people think because it doesn't matter.
And that's why I think Bill's such a great character.
Yeah.
And I want to briefly talk about him before I move on to the Freaks, because I think Bill is a great example of that. Because he is pretty cool with himself for the most part.
Yeah.
And I like that. And
listen, nothing says that more than when he dressed up as Jamie, whatever, the Bionic Woman. For Halloween.
That was fantastic.
That was, talk about somebody comfortable with themselves in high school.
And I was just thinking, Bill could be very close to being the MVP for me in this show thus far. You know that already, but the thing that really put him over the edge for me this episode is really just being maybe the best person on this show.
Okay.
Is how incredibly supportive he was of Sam throughout the whole thing.
Yeah.
The whole time.
Yeah.
I love
He went to the store with him.
He was trying to be confident with him the whole time. He was just really supportive of the idea. He wanted him to go. I really liked that.
He's a great friend.
He was constantly there for support.
Yeah.
Hey man, you got it. I liked it with his pretzels. It was good.
He wants Sam to succeed.
He does.
Because I think in their minds, if one of them succeeds, they all succeed.
It's a team effort.
And I think there's something to be said for that, which might actually that idea might lead into something with the Freaks as well.
In fact, it really does.
Right?
Because there's the Freaks, which is why I want to talk about it more, is because it is mostly Lindsay's story.
Yes.
But it does affect the other Freaks as well.
Yeah.
Specifically Daniel.
So I think we're done with the geeks now.
We're done with the geeks.
Only 25 minutes in, we're done.
26.
Done with the geeks.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the Freaks. This will be another hour.
I see.
Because I think the Freaks is the A story. That was the B story that we talked about.
Because I didn't even ask my question about fashion.
I'm sorry. What's your fashion question?
Well, the fashion question, just like, I forget if it was...
I'm the fashion plate.
Emerson or somebody that was like, if some like monkey in like France wears a hat a certain way, then someone in the United States will wear it a certain way.
Oh, okay. I don't know the quote, but yes.
It's like something like that.
Okay.
It's like just about the idea of fashion. Like I said, with what is popular and what isn't, it's just so... Like you said, you looked at all the stuff on the runways and think they're horrible.
Yeah.
Like, so it's... That's why when that...
But look, if Kylie Jenner or something was to wear something, it would be fashionable. And there's been jokes in shows about that, where like, I could go down the street in a garbage bag and next week everybody would be sporting a hefty,
Yeah.
I mean, that is, there's truth to that. But the problem is, Sam is not a trendsetter.
And that's the interesting thing in the hierarchy of maybe high school, and I've always wondered this too, like when anything becomes popular, really, like who establishes that, I guess.
The already popular people. So your football players, your cheerleaders. I mean, like if the guy that Cindy's dating came in with that same tracksuit on, jumpsuit, whatever it is, I think he might get a couple of chuckles, but then as soon as he's like, dude, shut up, like this is what I'm wearing.
People would eventually
then it becomes, he's
in with it.
Yeah, he's what a trendsetter.
I find that, I know that's what it is.
Yeah.
And I find that...
But Sam's 14. He doesn't know that.
I know Sam doesn't know. I've always found that to be fascinating and how ridiculous it is.
Well, that's how the trends start.
I know. I think I've always thought that very interesting and strange.
Yeah.
But you're right. But that's why I did not know if that suit might not have worked in general.
I think the suit was pretty horrible. But
I do too, but it could have been popular if the right person
could have been.
That's what I'm saying.
Could have been.
That's what I'm saying.
I think disco probably died too early for that to become a success in the States.
It was like done by 80.
I mean, like I'm saying, this is the sort of the peak of disco, and if that, well, yeah, like I said earlier, the peak was the end because it just dove so hard. But I mean, I don't see that suit being popular, but you could see, like, if John Travolta wore something similar.
That's what I keep thinking. Grease.
Saturday Night Fever, Grease, whatever it is.
People liked that.
Then it would be
a comeback.
Big.
That's all I'm saying. I just find that interesting.
Yeah.
That's all.
And that's what dictates fashion. So maybe the guy was right. Maybe it was a hot runway item, in Paris.
Maybe it was.
But Paris is far, far from Michigan in terms of fashion.
And also
very that was proven.
Distinct in their taste, too. Very different cultural stuff. Well, you're right.
Correct.
But anyway, Lindsay...
So Freaks.
Basically is pretty had it. Like, this is sort of like the cusp of all these things happening.
She takes her dad's car without permission.
Because of the party. Like,
and they crash it.
Steal the dad's car, has an accident, it's pretty intense with some lady. They just rammed into the back of the car.
Which really did happen to, I don't know if it was Paul Feig or Apatow, but most of the stories happened to Feig.
It could happen to a lot of teenagers, and this was...
But in this specific way, he literally had his license for like a week.
Oh.
Took his parents' car, and he grew up in Michigan. In Michigan, they have the Michigan left, where basically you can't turn left on a major thoroughfare.
Oh.
So I don't know if you've ever heard of that, but
no.
It's a thing. So he got a little confused, similar to, not that they were like looking for the house like in the episode, but basically, the friends were listening to music and talking and laughing and maybe.
That's what they said. Turn this new wave stuff off, yeah.
Yeah, well, they were probably listening to whatever, Paul Feig was listening to, Van Halen probably.
Probably.
But yeah, so they were having a good time, crashed, and, it was horrible. He said his parents weren't quite as hard on him as Lindsay's were, but still was horrible, and they took 3 hours to get the sound effect of the crashing correct.
It sounded good.
Because he felt it was too stagey. There was too much like broken glass noises. It sounded very realistic.
The sound design and the actual effect of the stunt with the car, that looked like some serious damage, and it didn't look fake to me. They simulated that well.
So another great one.
I just wanted to really focus on that. Once again, believability. Yeah. This is just another thing that I'm sure many teenagers can relate to.
Well, Kim starts mouthing off to the woman that Lindsay hit.
Oh yeah,
and that's the first part of like.
And Daniel does too.
Now I'm getting sick of you guys. Yeah, like,
and they're
she's
not,
like, shut up, Kim.
They're not like helping the situation.
I'm gonna be in trouble enough.
She goes back, and her parents are kind of on her. And this is the most intense the dad's ever been. He's like, he's like laying down the law.
They talk about that in the commentary that they really made a specific choice to make it. Yeah, very serious. No jokes. No talking about your friends taking the car and dying.
I'll tell you,
real deal.
When I was watching her, because there's some great performance there from her. Yeah. Like when she's crying. She's crying. I'm like, I got a little sad about it. I'm like, I'm worried. Like this, you can tell this is serious.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You're grounded. You're not ever hanging out with these kids ever again. And I'm like, I get what he's saying totally, and she kind of agrees.
Well, yeah, because
she wants to turn it around.
Because at that point, let's see, had she hadn't seen them again at school yet, right?
Not yet.
When this conversation happened.
Not yet, because she'll talk to them afterwards.
But yeah, so she's already kind of done with them because she realizes, look, I didn't want to take this car in the first place.
They pressured me into it.
I wanted to try and be nice to this lady, and Kim and Daniel are like giving her attitude.
Yeah.
So yeah, don't worry about it. I'm kind of done with them too, kind of thing. And then she sees him in school.
Yep.
And tells him.
She tells him what's what. She's like, hey, look, I'm grounded. I don't really want to hang out with you guys because, hey, just because you think that, my life might have a future, that's not necessarily true. It's you guys who don't know what you're doing. You have no plans. You're the losers.
There's a deleted scene as well where she gets even more
mean?
Not mean necessarily, but I think intense. She tells them basically, look, when my grandmother died, I thought, I didn't know what to do, and I thought, being around you guys, would help me, and in fact, you've made everything worse.
Ooh.
That kind of thing. So it's a very intense, monologue basically that she delivers to them about it.
Damn.
But some of that got cut out even.
But it still
but it resonates. It resonates completely with some of the people.
Some of the people. Well,
not Rogan.
Not Rogan.
Not Rogan. Of course.
No.
Thinks it's hilarious.
No. He's like, oh, what was that about?
Yeah. I don't know what that was about, but it was funny.
Even Rogan is affected by the end a little bit.
That's true,
which I like
because we'll get to it.
We'll get to it. I did like that everybody is affected, but he's the least affected. But when she's like, kind of saying,
who's the most affected?
Oh, Kim. Well, actually, no.
I don't know.
No, actually, okay. Kim is very affected because Kim Kelly's still a friend.
Yep.
Kim Kelly is my friend, part 3.
Part 3.
And she's like, okay, the ball's already been rolling, turning the gears for a couple episodes with Kim.
Right.
It's actually, okay, all right, first of all, after this, they're sitting at the lunch, they're saying, who needs her? She's goody two-shoes, what does she know? But they're all kind of a little affected by her absence. Daniel at first is like, whatever, he's like making out Kim, and she's like, hey, I gotta get to class, Actually, the conversation before that's great, where they're all talking about their plans. And about how unsure they are.
That is a great conversation when they all are talking about, okay, well, because she basically tells them they're not going anywhere, they're losers. She doesn't say losers, but it's implied.
It's heavily implied.
And so they're all sitting around the lunch table talking about, in her absence, they're talking about, well, what are our plans for the future? And why are we, Kim I think has it all rolling.
Kim actually has the only real moment. She actually thinks she wants to be a lawyer and help out people in the legal system, which that is interesting.
Rogan
actually has a plan, a very minimalist, pretty sad plan, but he at least has an idea. Like,
he's waiting for his dad to die.
And I'll inherit his business and I'll move to Hawaii. I'm like, okay, at least you've got something in mind, but obviously not a very great plan, but something. Daniel doesn't really know. And Nick is just like, oh man, she's just upset because she's so worried about being broken up with me. And Kim's like, oh yeah, that's totally what
they're all just like, are you kidding?
I thought that was hilarious. Like, he's still. I do like that plot line's still going.
Yeah. He's very broken up about that.
So not over her.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But no, Kim is affected for sure. But at first I thought I was beginning to think once again, okay, first part of this episode, Daniel, my least favorite. He's still the worst.
Okay.
But then. He's like,
what happens?
Well, actually, what happens is the words start to resonate with him, and then he wanders outside and wanders into our buddy.
Yeah.
The wise sage.
The wise sage.
With his monster manual, his D&D
Who,
book.
by the way, I found out.
He's great.
He's great. My friend in California, I went to college with her at Shippensburg, and she's been in LA for about probably close to 20 years now.
Oh, wow.
She did some local theater. She started a local theater company that ended up folding, but
nice.
But she met a lot of people, made a lot of contacts. So right now she's doing a lot of writing and in different writing groups. She knows him.
Really?
Sage. Yeah, because I had mentioned that we were doing these Freaks and Geeks reviews the other week when I talked to her, and she was like, "Oh, I actually know a guy that was on there. He didn't, he wasn't a major character." I said, "Who is he?" And then
the best character.
She said his name, and she had not seen the show, and I said, "Oh my God!"
You love that
I said,
guy.
"My friend Joe loves him. It's one of his favorite characters."
He's such a
so
great
she
character.
actually knows him. Yeah,
he's got all the advice.
And he sort of stumbled into that show. By the way, he came with a friend to audition. And they kind of just liked his look and his demeanor, and so they offered him the role.
He's just great.
It's his first
job.
And
I really loved how that's my favorite moment in the episode. Which it's not just because it's D&D.
Right.
So I like that's kind of what brings it in. That moment is really good because it's like in that moment for the first time we see Daniel as vulnerable.
I want you to remember
when I hated
that. No. I want you to remember that conversation. In future episodes. I'll just say that.
Okay. But yeah, it's basically, I don't even know why, but...
Well, I'll tell you what else. There's another deleted scene on this one where he actually... Remember that jerk math teacher that caught him cheating and told Lindsay he's a big loser and this and that?
We haven't talked about him yet.
We haven't talked about him, but he's coming up with the mathletes.
We'll get there.
But there's a deleted scene where Daniel actually... comes into his classroom after hours and asks to be tutored.
Ooh.
And basically gets laughed out of the room.
Oh.
He says, "You know what? I do tutor every day, in my class, Monday through Friday, 6th period or whatever." He says. And Daniel just goes away defeated. And it's like, dude, this kid was reaching out to you. And... yeah, I have mixed feelings about that math teacher.
I like that scene, and the thing is, we'll get to him. I know you were on the fence about him.
Yeah,
I actually really liked the math teacher in this episode. But if that scene had been in it, it would have destroyed it.
Yeah, I have to imagine that's why they took it out.
I was like, no, that kills his whole part of this episode.
That's why they took it out.
Yeah, I'm like, I like it, but I think I like Daniel's development in this thus far, and I just like
with
that
the sage.
He has that conversation with the sage, like, hey, legitimately. What do you think of me? Like when I just asked him, I thought that was interesting. He was like, well, because he seems to always insight.
What's nice for Daniel to ask about that though is that
he doesn't usually care.
These guys, well, not only does he not usually care, but these guys are not bullies. No, they're not bullies though. The freaks aren't bullies.
No.
So I would think if somebody asked a nerd that, I would think the nerd would not want to be honest with them because they're afraid of getting beaten up.
Yeah.
But this guy knows, Daniel really is going through something here. He doesn't want me to just feed him lines. He wants to know what I really think.
Legitimate opinion.
Yeah.
And so he's like, well, I don't think you're a loser, because you have sex.
He says, what does he say? You're basically like me, except you have sex.
You're basically like me, but you have sex. But he's like, if you didn't have sex, it might be more debatable. Which is a way of saying, well, you're not, you shouldn't be quite so hard on yourself. But, maybe you could still, reevaluate what you're going through.
Yeah.
It's like, do you get good grades? And don't you get good grades? And no, I don't. So he's just kind of opening up.
Yeah.
It was really good. And I liked that.
It's a great scene.
And that great line about how, I think you'd make a good dungeon master. I can tell. Which means he's probably got imagination. He's got drive, ambition. That all that says a lot of positive things in that one statement.
Yeah.
It is. It's really a high compliment to say someone could be a DM. It really is.
Yeah, not that Daniel knows that at the time, but from him. Yeah.
No, from him, but no, it's just
This is when D&D was just getting big.
This is when D&D would have been
early,
more controversial to play.
Yeah.
This would have been before. Well, no, this is right in the middle of the whole.
Pretty early.
It's horrible. Don't let kids play.
Yeah,
but it was big
and
whatnot. But it was getting big. So great little scene. I loved that, and we can talk about how that sort of ends with him.
Okay.
The final scene. We'll jump back to them later. But basically,
now let's talk about Lindsay and the math.
Lindsay is just putting the freaks behind her, She's going to try to be an athlete again.
Or her friend Millie had heard about the car accident and went to
over,
see if she was okay.
Sleep over. We'll see if we can get you back on the team. Goes to the math teacher. She's like...
This was a great... This might be one of my favorite exchanges of the episode.
When she just is like...
Because he basically said, like, you can be there, like, you can be on...
We can't let you on the first spot.
Yeah, I forget what the terms were, but yeah.
First block.
Yeah.
Can't let you back there. But hey, like, I'm the best in school. I'm the best in school. Okay, but you know...
She literally says to him, I'm the best... at math in this entire school, and he was just like, I think that's me, or whatever. And she's like, okay, but if you want this team to win,
like, I gotta be here. And she tries to get in that competitive streak. And
well, this is where it leads into what we were talking about earlier with the geeks sort of being on the same team and stuff.
Being on the same team, and also about fitting in and kind of finding yourself, being comfortable with who you are. It's all kind of there. And we get to see her old mathy group, which is a bunch of great girls.
But she basically talks him into...
letting her on
because I'm the best. Like, she is the best.
It's like, what's the point of, like, if there's no chance to win, then why compete? Like, all right, I'll let you back in.
I really like
in the reserves. In the reserves.
In the reserves at the time.
You're like benched essentially right now.
Yeah, I thought that was a really well deserved scene for her because she really. She was proving her passion for it.
She's a bit more timid sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, this is like, no, I'm good at this. I want to be part of this. You know I am.
But this whole episode is about her tenacity.
Yes.
And her really putting her foot down. And it's almost as if, like, we've always been talking about Kim Kelly being the leader of the Freaks. But really,
more assertive.
In this episode, certainly Lindsay's actions
she influences everybody.
Have the big ripple effect on everybody. Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So
and
even though she hasn't been in there long, maybe she is the leader of the Freaks.
Well, they all look up to her. They actually all value her opinion,
and they all were like, "You can't break up with Nick because Nick will fall apart." So they were counting on her to handle that.
And also, I mean.
She's certainly the most mature of all of them.
Oh, no doubt.
There's no doubt about that.
No doubt, and probably had the better raised family circumstances too. As part of that too. But absolutely, and that's why she is a good role model for them, whether they want to admit it or not.
Yeah.
So maybe it's not necessarily about her joining them, but them joining her. Maybe that's what the show's really about.
You're right.
You're
right.
But anyway,
so the mathletes, we get to see them all together at the lunch
table.
I
like the mathletes,
except for the one.
Shelly, I think her name was. But no, but legit, I liked those girls. I was like, they were a good group of girls.
You also, even though she's bad, you still you have to admit, like, in her position, it is unfair.
Yeah, look, this is the thing. I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
First of all, one thing we get to learn as Lindsay's going through this is, okay, being the Freaks has their issues, but being a math lead person, a hardcore, studious kid. There's competition there. There's there's popularity there. There's bullying there. So it shows that even those cliques that are more esteemed by the parents, there can still be some bad stuff.
Well, and they even say about like how college, transcripts will look at where
your position is on the team, and they're fighting for it. But I understand it from Shelley's perspective. It is unfair.
Yes.
I know she is a bit mean.
Turns out she stinks at math.
She's actually not as good.
She's actually horrible.
She cracks under pressure. Well, actually, the teacher even says, "We do need you because you're much better than everyone else."
Right.
And they're doing it for fun, but for her, this could be a path for success.
Yeah.
But no, Shelley's like, "Hey, you can't." She's been gone so long and attacks her, who she's associating with. Kim's pregnant. But I thought you guys are closer friends. Putting her down for her social status, like, oh, she's mean.
And even though Lindsay was, sort of fighting with them at the time, she still stood up for Kim.
Kim? Oh, yeah.
She still said, you don't know her.
Yeah, like,
you don't know Kim.
Trying to make assumptions. So we see that the mathlete girls aren't all perfect, though she was the biggest, meanest one.
Yes.
There's going to always be that one in the pack.
But then all the backstabbing later, like you said, at the sleepover, like, we really notice, it's every...
They're ready to throw her under the bus.
Every sort of...
clique
that has some sort of competition aspect. Every team, and there's gonna be some backstabbing
within the team, which the mom was concerned about because Lindsay's getting so gung ho, like, oh, is this about this other girl from the other team? Oh no, she's on my team.
Right.
Oh, okay, okay. As long as you're having fun, and she says she is.
Oh yeah, of course I am. But yeah, I didn't believe that.
No, I didn't believe that. She's just really focused and getting caught up in it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like Millie a lot in this.
Yeah.
I like the other mathlete girls. I thought they were fun. I thought they were nice. I could see why the parents kind of liked them.
Yeah.
I like those girls.
Now, what happens at the mathlete competition?
Mathlete competition.
First of all, who shows up?
Well, that was the best part. was that. The first one initially, Nick and Kim were there. Nick's being there like stop.
Nick's there because he's stalking her.
No, he's there because he's killing time.
Right.
What do you do? I'm just passing
killing time.
I gotta go.
He's really hurting about that.
Oh, poor Nick.
For sure.
Poor Nick. But Kim's there. I love that Kim was there to support, but the big one, though, I love that everybody shows up.
Daniel's there.
And Seth Rogen.
Seth Rogen is there. Yeah. And they're all
supporting her.
Really rooting for her.
And they're into
And of course her parents are there.
And her parents that I like.
Which is nice because then they could see,
the Freaks care.
The Freaks care, even though she's not even really associating with them right now.
Like, we've never felt so dumb in our lives.
That was pretty good.
But I would relate. I'm terrible at math.
I feel the same, though, when I watch, like, Jeopardy. I'm like, I don't know any of this.
It's great. Exactly. But I thought that was great for the Freaks, was that they're all there supporting her, even though she's doing her nerdy mathlete thing.
Right.
And, trying to have a future and whatever, care about grades. But they supported that.
Yes.
Thought it was a great moment. But, yeah, Shelley bombs. Like, Lindsay's doing great.
Horrible.
Boom. Just is like wins all around. Shelley feels the pressure, I think, which makes her do worse and just gets destroyed.
Yeah. Now, do you like that there was a black kid on the show? In the he was on the other school's team. They said in the commentary that they actually thought about having an episode where a new kid comes to the town and he's black, and all of a sudden he's like the most popular kid in the school, and it makes Sam and the geeks even more angry. But then they were like, it might come across as they're not having it because he's black, not because he's a new kid and popular.
I think, you know what, I did have a brief thought about it.
Of course.
But I didn't really care.
No.
Because I'm kind of glad they didn't draw attention to it. Yes,
this is how it went.
I liked the fact.
I mean, goodness.
I liked the fact.
Midwest in 1980.
That would have been a big deal.
That would have been a big deal. Your school's all white, pretty much.
But I'm glad they didn't make a big deal about it.
No, it was nice that they put him in there.
I liked that
on the other team.
I liked that the younger black kid destroyed her. Like I thought,
destroyed Shelley.
But I liked that he was surprised. Like, this is going well. Like he didn't know. So I thought that was great. That was good, a good little thing. But yeah, basically after that, Lindsay kind of realizes, I didn't really like all this. This isn't really me anymore. I actually like my new friends. I think I moved on. This is what
she has a really nice conversation with Millie. They're at the sleepover.
Millie had to get stepped down for her to come back in.
That's right. We didn't talk about that.
Millie sacrificed a lot for her. And wasn't mad about it.
By the way, right, because Millie, unlike Shelley, knows that what's best for the team is best for all of us.
Team player.
The whole geeks thing we were talking about earlier. If one of us wins, we all win. So Millie was very excited about that and happy to stand aside.
Good old Millie.
Good old Millie, always there. But she obviously can get her spot back once Lindsay leaves. But yeah, they're at the sleepover and talking about Shelley backstabbing and stuff. And even then, even after all the negativity from Shelley, Lindsay's like, well, Shelley's okay, like whatever. She's still kind of like
she's not really like
this is just who Lindsay is.
She's like, let's not gang up on her. Like, I get it, but all the other girls like, she's just mean. Well, is she being like Lindsay's trying to be more understanding and doesn't like getting involved in just like railroading people.
But her and Millie though, don't they have a great
bond, like
conversation?
I don't know if I want to be athletes anymore, but if you want to come over and sleep over and play Uno or whatever, you'll be still okay with that. And of course, I thought that was a very nice moment, and I really like that Millie and her can still be friends, even though it's in different crews.
Well, because I think she kind of realizes that the first half of the season, she shut Millie out, and they were best friends.
I always thought that before this episode, I liked Millie, but I thought she might have been a little too prudish, a little too focused on the mathlete stuff. But we get to see a lot more of her as a character.
We see her, making out with the man.
But even more than that, we see more of her developing as a character, and I liked her a lot in this episode.
Can I tell you why? The main reason they did this episode, other than to put the Paul Feig car accident story in a show.
Why?
To give Lindsay's character some sort of origin story without doing flashbacks. So we see here, when she goes back to the mathletes, back to her old life, pre-Freaks, we basically see how she was when her grandmother was still alive. Isn't that brilliant?
It's very clever.
Yeah.
Because she goes back into the old group probably exactly how it was. So it's like a flashback without a flashback.
Yeah.
But would you have preferred a flashback?
No. No, I think this was... No, because guess why? Flashbacks are routine.
Very, very routine. Very routine.
And
I thought it was done smoothly.
Very clever. And it wasn't something that I thought about until This one wasn't on the commentary track. It was on that article where Paul Feig's going over all the episodes with AV Club or something. And that's what he says about this particular episode. He's like, we really wanted to do an origin story for this character so people could see before the pilot episode how Lindsay was. But we didn't want to do it in flashback. And I was like, wow, that cuts because it really worked. I mean...
Fantastically.
Fantastic.
Very smooth.
So much so that I didn't even realize it.
It's like, oh yeah, like that is just kind of showing us...
I've seen this episode how many times, and I never even thought of it like that.
No, that's really good.
But
I thought that was extremely
well done again.
Great writing.
So then how does it end? Oh, she goes to...
see the Freaks.
She goes to see the Freaks.
Which felt like a very genuine, nostalgic... Made me think of high school for me. Like, just like hanging out at the pizza place, talking about a movie.
When she stumbles in on them, they don't know she's even there.
No, and they're talking amongst themselves.
But Kim Kelly wants to go see this foreign film.
Foreign film? You have to read it? What's the point? Well, I don't know. Like, do something different. Like, trying to expand her mind.
Which is funny, because let's think about the Halloween episode. Mm-hmm. Where all Lindsay wanted to do was go see a horror movie.
Yeah, like Elephant Man.
And they were like, no, let's go throw eggs at people.
So they're thinking something more productive to do with their time.
They're realizing that,
maybe we are wasting our time.
Yeah, basically, maybe Lindsay wasn't such a wet blanket after all.
Maybe she had some cool ideas.
Yeah.
I like that.
And then, when she does reintroduce herself to the scene, then they're like, okay.
Oh, great, let's do this. And of course, Nick is like, I'm glad that you're taking our breakup so well.
God almighty.
Okay, cool, Nick. I think I'll be fine.
Yeah.
Like she's... Well, okay, yeah, sure.
She's letting him have it.
Yeah, we're so broken up.
But they still decide, like, hey, let's go see this movie.
They go see this movie.
Yeah.
I just hope it's not about a guy who talks too much.
Because he doesn't want to read.
But Seth Rogen's still like, hey, this could be cool.
Yeah.
So even he is affected a little.
He's whatever about everything.
I like that. To be honest, I feel like if they all became athletes, but fine, I'll join.
Yeah, he wouldn't care if he was any good at math.
No, but the point is he was still there supporting.
Yeah, wasn't that great?
All right. I thought this was a very Seth Rogen-y episode, all things considered. But you said there is actually one coming for him. You said there might be one. Mm-hmm. Okay. Is it a bad one? You seem trepidation.
No, I don't. I don't want to. I'm not tipping it.
It's the one where he gets murdered.
No. He's only in about 2 episodes every 10.
Even though he's like one of the top billed people.
I know. Busy Phillips has definitely been in more episodes.
She should have gotten a clip. But I did see. Jason Segel rubbing his eyes this time.
Oh, good. Yeah, did you look?
Was that a blooper? Was that did they leave that intentionally?
No, I don't think they left it intentionally. I don't think they caught it when they were piecing the show together.
Because to make him look like he. Oh, and they did mention asking if they were high too.
That's right.
They were probably high. Like, no, they weren't.
That's right.
That's what Shelley was saying.
When she was defending them.
So it's coming more obvious that they could be involved.
Yes,
it's an assumption.
Clearly, but I'm glad you saw the
I did finally catch
the opening credits.
Oh, okay. He's just literally like right there.
He's really going to town.
I'm like, it's really actually obvious when I see it. Like, oh.
Yeah. Every episode now, I'm like, oh my god, it's
he's
so
going
clear.
So hard at that. Like, couldn't edit that.
Well, good. I'm glad you noticed that. All right. So here's the thing with this episode.
This is the thing. After all this,
I know who really is
the MVP.
The MVP of the episode.
I don't know.
Number one.
I don't
know. Number
know.
2. What's the best scene in this episode? Because I got to tell you, I have no idea. This is one of those where
there's a lot.
It could literally go 4 different ways with either. I think the conversation with Rosso and Sam in his living room is a great one.
Great scene.
But then of course you've got all the freaks with
that's a great scene.
With the mathletes part. The
scenes with Millie.
Scenes with Millie, the sleepover, or at the lunch table.
Honestly, the scene where she's kind
Daniel and the Sage.
Daniel the Sage with D&D was great. The scene at the beginning where Dad's like, "You're grounded for life."
Yeah,
is pretty
that's intense.
So,
it's an episode full of good scenes.
It's an episode that's. Dan, you want to know something?
Did you come in thinking this was going to be like a B episode or something?
Dan, I'll confess something to you.
Tell me your grade.
I haven't.
Do you think this was worth one yet?
I have an agenda.
Okay.
Because sometimes
your agenda is to finally get to a bad one.
Yes, I get irritated sometimes when we keep giving these things all these high grades. I'm like, okay, there's got to be an episode that's not great. Okay. There has to be. And so I'm looking at this. I'm like, oh, okay, he wants to finish. So he's getting new clothes and do the hair. Okay, this is pretty basic for Freaks and Geeks. Like 10 minutes. I'm like, okay, fine. This is okay. Keeps going. I'm just like. Yeah. And now I'm like, well,
now that we've talked about everything,
it's now.
How about that origin story bit?
With the mathletes.
Brilliant.
It's such a great episode.
It really is.
It's so annoying.
It really is. Okay, so we can't come to a decision on what the best scene is.
Well, let's try.
Which is probably a good sign.
That's a great sign.
For me, I think it's probably the mathletes competition.
As a whole?
Yeah, because we see the Freaks supporting her even though they're fighting. I think that proves to Lindsay
that's a great scene.
That hey, you know what, you kind of cut us to the core here, but we get it.
That's probably like the best.
And the fact that her parents are there too, seeing them cheer her on.
That's like
Shelley screws up, classic. I think that's my favorite scene of the episode.
That's a great scene. That's probably like the best scene thematically for the episode.
I think number 2 might be Rosso and Sam in the living room.
Rosso and I was gonna say that might be my favorite. His conversation was so heartful, and I just really guidance counselor Rosso is
he really is. He's so good.
Such a great character.
Bad teacher.
Yes.
In the movie Bad Teacher.
He was also in a band.
That's right.
At the stage with the teachers.
That's right. Period 9 or something. I forget what it was called.
Yeah, period 9.
I forget what it's called. I think it was period.
He was
9.
literally the same guy, just older. Yeah,
just older. Yeah.
That was great.
All right. Well, listen. Before we actually do hit the hour mark, so you think maybe that's your favorite scene?
Also, this episode kind of really turned me around on Daniel though. Like his whole thing with the sage and his whole development that's pretty great.
Yeah.
Like even the little things like Nick still being hungover is just hilarious.
Yeah.
Over Lindsay.
Do you like how I've played the Daniel card?
Yeah, you made me hate
close to the vest.
You were like, oh yeah,
because he's so easy to hate in the first half of the series.
You even said that you were he's probably the worst, and I'm like for most of the episodes I do hate him, but I'm like,
so who's the worst now? There is no worst. It might still be Nick. But
wait, what?
But Nick.
No, okay. Nick is a little. Sad.
We go back and forth on Nick.
So, yeah, Nick sometimes
I'd say Ken is the worst because he really isn't.
He's barely
developed.
a character.
Yeah,
he's still kind of.
He shows up for some one-liners.
He's window dressing.
Right.
He's funny. He's Seth Rogen. Right. But that's why I want him to get a damn episode so I can stop saying.
Maybe the math teacher.
I
wouldn't call him the main character.
No, but of the episode or the show, worst person. That one episode where he's basically like, screw all the freaks.
Yeah, he's up there.
But this episode kind of turned me around him on a little bit.
Yeah, unless you saw the deleted
then I'd be like, he's the worst. Then I'd be like, he is the worst. Give up on these kids again. But no, I actually liked him in this episode.
Yeah, he wasn't bad.
He was actually pretty good. So the worst person is probably Ken, but that's just because they haven't given him an actual full scene yet.
Yeah.
He needs a little more development.
Real worst person is the bully, obviously.
Oh, actually, yeah, the guy that keeps attacking Sam.
That's too obvious.
So
we don't count him.
But he's actually the worst.
So let's grade it. What do you? Well, did you answer a question about the best scene? You said this, the Rosso and
Rosso and Sam's probably the best.
Right. Actually. So, what's your grade? Because I'll admit, on the surface, this doesn't appear to be great. One of the better episodes.
It doesn't.
But it actually is. And by the end of the episode, everything kind of goes back to the way it was anyway.
It's status quo again.
But only for some people.
Not for
Kim
the
Kelly
freaks.
And Daniel especially.
Things have changed.
Things have changed, and you'll note that in future episodes.
Cool. I think
maybe for Sam, things have changed a little bit for his confidence.
That seems like a pretty big thing.
And we'll see that in future episodes, I think. So it's a kind of a pivotal episode, even though on the surface it seems like a throwaway episode. For me, this is a high mark. I don't know. What do you think?
Dan,
I'm going to defer to you.
Dan,
because I know you came into this thinking it was going to be like a B.
I was thinking B plus. Maybe I was like, it's fine. But honestly,
it's literally like an A. So
I think I might give it an A plus.
Is that right?
It's such a good. There's so many. It's like you said.
Wow.
It's hard to pin down a good scene. There's so much.
When you have an episode where literally 5 or 6 different scenes could be the best scene, and you could make a case for each.
I loved every scene.
Wow, A plus.
I don't think a single scene was wasted.
Huh.
Honestly,
I didn't expect to go into it with an A plus. We usually like to come to a consensus, but look,
if you could bring me down to an A,
I'll never block an A plus.
I'll tell you what. The only thing that could keep her from being an A plus.
I think we just had an A plus, right?
Did we?
I think.
Was it the mask?
I don't think it was the diary. I think it was the one before that. The one where they all the relationship stuff. Do we think that was an A+? Maybe we didn't. I can't remember.
Have to watch it up. We forget.
I know.
But the only thing that could bring it down maybe is I want to say that the hair and coat thing is cheap. But I think it was brilliant.
It really
was a brilliant subversion, and based on this light. I mean, and it's so believable.
Yeah,
I really liked this episode a lot. I think this was such a crucial character thing for Lindsay, for Sam, for Bill and Neil, for
her parents,
for the parents, for Daniel, big time for Kim. Great moment for the count.
I know. I was going to argue you up to an A because I knew that we were going to be like a B+, A- kind of episode. I was going to argue up to an A.
I think it's so damn good.
But for you to come in
the mathy thing between the flashback that's not
when
a
you
flashback.
were thinking maybe B+ and now it's an A+, that's high praise. So I will go with you on it.
Yeah, I really...
We like to agree on this
I think it's an A+ episode.
So I'll say it.
And you know what? I think the thing is, the secret with each of these, why they're so good, is because they don't seem like they're going to be anything that special on the surface.
They're so layered.
They're so layered. This is a basic, standard teen thing. We're going to do so much with it.
Remember when I said, let's watch Freaks and Geeks? You were like, well, I've heard of it, but you were like, I don't know. Is it for me? It's for everybody.
It's a pretty...
Everybody that went to high school and lived.
Anybody that anybody that went through adolescence can relate to something in this show.
Yeah,
anybody that's a parent, a teacher, there's something here for you.
Yes. All right, A+ then.
I love it.
Wow, very good.
I mean, can you...
Another good one in the books and our longest review yet.
It's not. It is not the longest.
Did we get to 105 in one of them?
I think we got like 108 or something.
No, we didn't have any that high, but there have been a few that were over an hour.
It's because you said this will be the shortest.
I actually thought it might be.
Well, 45.
I forgot.
I knew it was going to be 40.
I forgot
45.
the layers.
This is the thing, Dan. I don't know about the layers until we start talking about it, and then I'm like, oh my!
Because I spent like 4 hours before we do these with the episodes. So I watch the episode, watch the commentary, watch the other commentary, look up the articles about Paul Feig's interview.
And he goes hard with this.
I go very hard with
I do the opposite. I try. The only thing the only thing I try and do is I want it to be as fresh as possible. Right. I literally watched this like an hour before you came over.
I watched it all. I started at like 8:30 tonight and watched it for about 3.5 hours straight before I
want it fresh in my mind so it's still there and I don't forget anything.
That's good.
So like I'm like...
And I'm learning a lot from these episodes that I've seen so many times because I never really watched the commentary tracks before. Mm-hmm. So I'm learning a ton of background myself that hopefully I'm entertaining you guys with too. But what a show, man. So there's only, 6 or 7 left, I think.
Wow.
I think we're actually getting close to the last aired episode. Let me, real quick, just so we can make it a full hour and 8 minutes or whatever. But yeah, let's look here. Because Kim Kelly's been in all of them so far.
Yeah.
And I know that the episode she's not in is the episode in which right afterwards they found out they were canceled.
Wow.
So
she wouldn't have been in the last episode that was there.
Correct. Okay, so this was the last one in the grouping where they re-aired it or where they rebooted it in January with that like second pilot kind of thing.
Okay.
In Carded and Discarded. So we had 5 episodes right in a row.
Great episode.
And then we took a break for a month and a half, came back with 2 episodes, and that's all that was aired. And then we have 5 more after that.
I try not to spoil myself, but I was curious about something.
Tell me.
And we won't talk about it till the episode happens, I guess.
Okay.
But I noticed something, which I really like, is that they try to do this thing like the school year, like it's actually in sequence.
Right.
The show takes place from the school year 79 to 80, and the show takes place 99 to 2000. So it's kind of mimicking the school year.
Yeah.
And I actually have been checking along when they mention like albums and movie releases.
Oh, everything
and I'm like, it's in line with... So if this was January of this year, so this would have... That's why I checked Elephant Man. Like,
okay.
So they're getting down to like the week.
Everything
they're matching it up.
Absolutely. By the numbers, historically.
Which made me
all the music. Which, by the way, this episode had some of my... we didn't even talk about the music. All right, real quick. Everyone's already tuned out, but that's fine.
You're still watching
because I want you to know.
Thank you.
This is one of my favorite musical episodes because it isn't traditional, with the Van Halen, the
rock
Led Zeppelin stuff, which is fine. I love all that stuff. You know, rest in peace, Eddie Van Halen, all of that. But Joe Jackson has 2 songs in here.
Oh, Joe Jackson.
Look Sharp, and then the other one, and then Supertramp. One of my one of my literally like favorite classic rock songs is "Take the Long Way Home" by Supertramp. And they play it perfectly at the end when Lindsay leaves the Mathletes and decides to basically come home to the Freaks. I mean, it's brilliant. So, love the music in this episode. Another great touchstone of this. And again, that Joe Jackson album came out in 1979. So
that's why he was like,
on the money.
Great bass lines, keep it on. Yeah.
Yep.
And Ken was like, don't want to listen to this. Put on something good.
Classic Ken. All right, so a lot of things to remember for this episode, for future episodes, I think. But I guess then we only have 2 more from the original airing.
And like 6, 7
and then total. 5 afterwards that were aired that fall on Fox Family when they did repeats.
So we're getting close.
So yeah, we're getting down to it for sure.
Wow.
Sad to say. But all right, thank you so much for watching. Please enjoy all of our Freaks and Geeks Fridays episodes.
Should we plug what we're going to do later, or should we wait till the end?
Let's wait until a little bit closer. We have about 6 or 7 more episodes.
We know what we're going to do after this.
We know what's going to be next. We haven't come up with an alliteration for it yet, but I think we'll figure it out.
They don't have to all be alliteration.
Well, I like them to be. But I guess Sopranos wasn't, but that was on your channel. You didn't care. I like Frasier Friday, Freaks and Geeks Friday. The next one does not start with an F, so I don't know what we'll do, but.
We can't do it around the week, at least.
No, we can't. We'll figure it out. All right. That's it.
That's it.
Thanks for watching. Bye.